She walked into the room like sin itself, silk dress, heels sharp enough to pierce hearts, and eyes that had seen men crumble at her feet. Her name was Lana Cruz. Age 27. Profession, whatever the hell she wanted it to be. She didn't sell her body. She sold the illusion that you could touch her if you paid the right price. Wall Street bankers, married politicians, award-winning authors. They all knew her. Not publicly, of course, but behind tinted windows in private lounges, penthouse elevators, and hotel sheets, her name was gospel. To some, she was a fantasy. To others, a threat. But to herself, she was in control. Always. Until the night that changed everything. It was a Wednesday, the kind of cold New York night that made even fire look lonely. Lana stood at the bar of Vesper Club, a private rooftop hideout for the elite. She wasn't working, not tonight. Tonight, she was hunting. And then she saw him. He wasn't like the others. No Rolex. No flashy watch. No desperate glances or rehearsed compliments. Just a black turtleneck, whiskey in hand, and the kind of jawline that belonged in a dangerous story. His name was Damon Rhodes. She would learn that later. For now, all she saw was the way he looked at her, not like a man who wanted to own her, but like a man who had already read her manual. He raised his glass slightly, not smiling. She hated that. And she loved it. So she walked over. "I haven't seen you before," she said, leaning in just close enough to let him inhale her Chanel. "I've seen you," he replied. "Twice." Her eyebrow arched. "You've been watching me?" "No," he said. "I've been waiting for you to come find me." That was the first crack. Not in her game, but in her armor. They talked for hours. He didn't ask about her work, her past, or what she charged. He asked about her favorite childhood memory. Her dream city. Her last real heartbreak. She told him she didn't believe in heartbreak. He said, "Then you've never truly surrendered." She laughed. But something in her stomach flipped. That night, they didn't sleep together. He kissed her cheek, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "Let's see if you can survive wanting something without taking it." And then he walked away. No one had ever left her hungry before. It drove her mad. Over the next few days, Lana found herself doing things she didn't recognize. She checked her phone, waited for messages, got annoyed when he didn't text, stared at her closet wondering what he might like. The control she'd worn like a second skin was slipping. Finally, he texted, "Dinner? My place. No games." She went. Of course she did. But what happened that night wasn't what she expected. There was no seduction. No foreplay. Just truth. Damon wasn't just rich. He was connected. Dangerous. He knew things about people. Had files. Secrets. He pulled out a tablet. Tapped it. Photos appeared. Of her. With clients. Men who shouldn't be seen with someone like her. "Why do you have these?" she asked, voice low. He looked up slowly. "Because I've been watching you, Lana. For a long time." And just like that, her world tilted. Her body had always been her weapon. But now it was evidence. Lana stared at the screen, her breath caught between her ribs. Photos. Videos. Texts. Time-stamped. GPS tagged. Clients she had sworn would never be traced back to her. Men whose careers would shatter if those images ever surfaced. She looked up at Damon, a smirk tugging at the corner of his mouth. "You've been spying on me," she said, her voice sharp but cracked. "I've been studying you," he replied. "There's a difference." Her pulse throbbed in her throat. She wanted to grab the tablet, throw it across the room, scream, curse, claw his face. But she didn't. 'Cause she knew what this was. Power. And it was being passed between them like a loaded gun. "What do you want?" she asked, arms crossed, nails digging into her skin. Damon leaned back in his chair, sipping his whiskey with agonizing calm. "You!" She laughed. Bitter. "You could have just asked." "No, Lana. Not for one night. Not for a transaction. I want all of you." "You want to own me?" she hissed. "I want to break you," he said. The silence after that felt like glass cracking under pressure. She stood. "You have no idea who I am." "I know exactly who you are," he replied. "You wear your body like a throne, expecting men to kneel. But you've never once asked yourself what it means to feel powerless." She wanted to slap him. She wanted to run. But more than anything, she wanted to understand why this man knew how to speak directly to the part of her she kept buried beneath the silken smiles. "You're disgusting," she whispered. "No," he said. "I'm honest." She stormed out. But she didn't delete his number. In fact, she dreamed of him that night. Not the way she usually dreamed about men, not with heat or lust, but with something colder. Deeper. She saw herself standing naked, not in body but in truth. All her lies peeled away. And his voice echoing, "You've never surrendered." By morning, she was back at his apartment. Not because she had to. 'Cause she needed to. He opened the door like he knew she would come. "No tablet," she said, walking in. "No threats. Just answers." He nodded. That night they talked again, for hours. He told her how he grew up poor, watching his mother sell herself just to put food on the table. How she died when he was 15. How he learned to use silence as a weapon. How watching Lana had triggered something in him, something raw, unspeakable. "I don't hate you," he said quietly. "I see you." She blinked. "You think your body gives you control. But what you're really doing is running. From pain. From loneliness. From love." She didn't reply. Because for the first time in years, someone wasn't asking to touch her. He was asking to see her. And that terrified her more than anything. Later that night, she stood in front of his mirror, staring at her reflection. Same body. Same curves. Same lipstick. But her eyes looked different. Vulnerable. Exposed. She stepped into his room. He was sitting on the edge of the bed, fully clothed, watching her. She climbed onto his lap, slowly, deliberately, not to seduce but to test herself. "Then let me surrender," she whispered. He didn't undress her. He held her. And for the first time, Lana cried. And not from weakness. From remembering who she used to be before she became a weapon. Lana hadn't stayed the night with a man in years. Not unless she was paid, photographed, or scheduled to disappear by dawn. But this time there was no clock ticking. No silk robe on the floor. No high heels by the door. Just silence. And his arms wrapped around her steady. Till. She wanted to believe it was real. She almost did. But in the morning when Damon stepped out to take a call, she couldn't resist. She opened his laptop. He never locked it. And maybe that was the most dangerous part of him, the quiet confidence that made you think you were safe. Loved. What she found wasn't porn, photos, or old emails. It was a folder. Labeled, LC Archives. Her initials. She clicked. And her breath caught in her throat. He had more than photos. He had recordings. Conversations. Hotel surveillance. Voice memos she never remembered saying. And notes. Written in clinical cold language. Subject remains unaware of long-term surveillance. High tolerance for manipulation. Trauma response evident in detachment. Resistance is tied to control identity. It wasn't love. It was a study. Project. She was an experiment. He hadn't been obsessed with her body. He'd been dissecting her soul. She closed the laptop and stood up, dizzy with disgust. A storm raged inside her, grief, betrayal, shame. All the men who had touched her never felt this violating. 'Cause at least with them she had chosen. But this was something else. When Damon returned, she was already dressed. "You read it," he said flatly. "You used me," she said, her voice shaking. "You knew everything. You played me." He didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. "I needed to understand you," he said. "To know if you were real or just another illusion." "And now," she spat. "Now I know," he replied. "You're both." She stepped forward and slapped him hard. "I gave you something no one else had," she hissed. "I gave you me." He touched his cheek, smiled slightly. "And that's the part of you I needed to see. She backed away, trembling. "I'll expose you," she warned. He shook his head. "You won't." "Why not?" "Because you're not the weapon anymore. You're the woman who finally broke. And no one fears a broken weapon." That cut deeper than the slap. She left. Walked the streets in heels that no longer felt like armor. Her makeup smudged. Her body sore. But her mind, awake. She went home, erased his number, deleted every file, every photo, every memory. She could have gone public. She could have dragged him into the light, shamed him like he did her. But that would have meant staying in his world. And she was done playing his game. Weeks passed. She stayed quiet, kept low, disappeared from the clubs, blocked her old clients, started journaling, started therapy. She even cut her hair, shoulder length now, natural color, no extensions. She got a job at a bookstore. Small, quiet, anonymous. One afternoon, a girl no older than 19 came in. Pretty, nervous, too much makeup. Lana recognized the eyes, desperate to be seen, terrified to be touched. She helped her find a poetry book. And as the girl was leaving, Lana said softly, "You don't have to be what they want. You can leave that life. Before it leaves you empty." The girl paused, nodded. That night, Lana wrote in her journal, "He didn't destroy me. He showed me the version of myself I never want to become again." She burned the last photo of Damon and watched the ashes fade into nothing. For the first time, her body wasn't her weapon. Her silence was, and that silence was hers to keep.